And unfortunately, one of the people I was really looking forward to watch perform in the spring game is not going to be there. That being Xavier Betts, who, as all of us who consume Husker content know, is at this point, as far as I understand, no longer with the team. Um, some of the insight I've heard is that he's just not really into playing football. He's got other interests and things that he does in his life, and he's probably not used to getting coached as hard as I'm sure Mickey Joseph coaches him. So it's a shame he's gone. But hey, if the team needs to move on and find guys that want to be there, then I guess that's probably best for the team, right?
Yeah, it's a shame because he just had a high ceiling for talent. But I don't blame anybody for not wanting to play football anymore. It's a really, really hard sport. It's very, very demanding on your body and on your mental stability. And some people are cut out for it and others are not. I would not be one of them. So I really don't have any place to speak on behalf of that. But as far as we can tell from many media sources and insider scoops, is that it's not some sort of nefarious situation. He's not in trouble. First rumors that were spreading around
it's
were
not disciplinary.
or not academic ineligibility. Because those were the rumors that I was first seeing, which is just disheartening that that's the first thing that people want to go to is, oh, the person is a degenerate, or oh, the person is a dummy and can't seem to get good grades, which granted, those things do happen, but it's just like, man, we have a lot of cynicism in Husker Nation when that's the first thing we want to assume out of somebody who's no longer playing football. It's a bummer. It really is. I hope that whatever he chooses to do in life outside of the realm of football, that he can be insanely successful with it and he finds meaning and purpose in doing so. But yeah, man, I'm bummed out because he was one of the guys that when we've been talking about preseason like excitement, Xavier Betts has been on the docket for that, like in my top 5 for the most part of dudes that I'm really excited for. There's 3 of you, Dad. Nice.
You see that? I'm not sure why.
Oh well.
I removed the one, I think.
Yeah,
I
we're just
I
having
disappeared from the stream, and then boom! I just tried to put the deal at full screen, and it did not like it. So,
oh gosh.
Anyway, I don't know where you were at that point, but go ahead if you've got more things to say.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that that he just. It's just a bummer, man. He just was such an excitement for me to see what he could do if he could really like pinpoint those skills with his agility and his elusiveness and his ability to get out into open field and use that breakaway speed and his talent for our offense. Like it's a bummer. Yeah. It's just a big all around bummer.
Yep, it sucks. There's no doubt about it. But he's not the only guy going to be missing, right? We've got basically a giant medical ward of players not playing, notably the 2 best offensive linemen, like in Turner Corcoran and I think isn't, good Lord, I completely lost his name. The dude that tore his ACL, you know who I'm talking about. He's out, of course. Our top 4, I can't remember his name. My God, I can't believe that.
Yeah, for some reason I'm just thinking of Fedoni, but that's on offense.
It's not Fedoni. No. Prohaska.
Oh,
Teddy
yes.
Prohaska's out.
Yes, yeah, he re-injured his.
And then you got your top ACL. 4 tight ends with Vokalek, Fedoni, Hickman, Brewington is out. So I'm just curious with everybody that's so key to, especially on the offensive line, is it worrisome that they can't participate in the spring game, or is it better that they're going to go into fall extremely healthy?
Yeah, I would say that if I had to choose between them getting injured now and any time at a later point in time of date, like now would be the time, but it is really disheartening because just like our coaching staff, they're really not going to know. I mean, the spring game really only reveals so much, not very much at all, if any. But these are kind of those key players, especially in the tight end room, where Whipple has talked about it, and so has Casey Thompson, where there are actual design plays that we have that the first pick that our quarterback is supposed to look for is actually the tight end. And granted, they have spoken highly of our walk-on. Is it Ian Bokacher? Yeah, they've spoken.
Yep.
Yeah, Bokacher. They've spoken really highly of him, but I mean, with the likes of Vokalek, man, and then I just can't even stress how broken up I am about Thomas Fidone tearing his ACL again. But then with Hickman and Brewington, like those are like that's 1 through 4. That's like 1 through 4 on the roster. Like with those guys being down, man, it sucks. It sucks. However, they'll plug in the guys that they're going to plug into, and maybe it's better. Maybe it's better, because I would actually be way more disheartened if we saw an outstanding performance from these positions in the spring game, only to have them get injured in fall camp. And know for sure that they're not going to be playing at least for half the season. So there is a little bit of a recovery window that they can have, but dang, those important like training snaps and camp snaps that they need, those drills and everything that they're going through right now, all the way up to the spring game before fall camp. Those things are important for those guys. They need those reps. So it's going to basically be a crapshoot. We're not going to know as much as maybe we could have known rolling into 2022 kickoff with Northwestern.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're switching offenses, you switch position coaches all over the place, and you've got some key dudes, especially the offensive line, that aren't going to be there playing in the spring game. But here's hoping they're like the rest of the guys and they pick up Raiola's system pretty quick. I'm quite frankly not exactly worried that those guys aren't playing. I'm more concerned as to how quickly and easily they will pick up the new concepts and whatnot when it comes time for them to play. So
I agree.
That's
with
kind
that.
of where I stand on the issue. Let's take a look. Let's cover a few players that we're really looking forward to watching. I'm really looking. I was really torn. The player I really wanted to watch, I was torn between Trey Palmer and Anthony Grant, and I settled on Anthony Grant because he's gotten all that buzz in camp, and he's broken off reportedly some pretty big runs in some scrimmages. So I'm really curious to see if he can do that again this next Saturday. So my pick on offensive, a guy I really want to watch, it's Anthony Grant. And just for anybody watching or listening to know, we couldn't pick a quarterback. So that's why we're not choosing Casey Thompson like we both probably would want to.
Yes.
So your offensive guy that you want to watch is, same position group.
Yes. If any of our followers have listened to me, assuming that some of you have, my guy, my golden boy, my homie, the guy that I don't know, but I feel like I do in the bottom of my heart, would be Jacques Yant. That's the guy who I'm going to be watching with a close eye. He seems like, based on spring, pressers and reports from many Husker media sources, is that he has put in the works thus far to earn himself a little bit more respect with his coaching staff, and with Brian Applewhite, and what he can provide for Yant, that motivation, that desire to get to that next level and to hold himself to a higher standard seems like it's coming to fruition. And last year, a couple of errors that we saw with Yant was, well, his execution. He just didn't seem as sharp with the playbook. And second to that is his stamina. He was a big dude. He's a big dude. His fuel tank was not very
low.
big. And so if he can figure out those things where he can be confident in the play calling and know what his job is within those X's and O's, that's going to bode very well for him. And I'm just very curious to see what his talent level can look like in the spring game. He's going to be a truck. And if he does have a lot more, it has a lot more fuel to burn, that would just be awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching him too. He was my number 3 guy that I was really looking forward to seeing. So it was between Grant, Yant, the Ant boys, if you will. And then I've got one on defense that I'm really looking forward to watching, simply because he's been getting a lot of defensive linemen talked him up on a podcast I listened to the other day where they were talking with Sean Callahan from Husker Online. And they said that Ernest is really, really athletic, really, really quick. So I'm looking forward to watching Ernest Hausman play. Local boy from Columbus, by way of Africa. So quite the story, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what he does on next Saturday. If anything, I don't know how much he's going to play, how little he's going to play, but I'll be looking for that athleticism, looking for that speed, looking to see what it is exactly he brings to that inside linebacker table. And you never know, he might be a guy that ends up putting on a few pounds and moves outside because of the speed. So anyway, yours is?
I'm looking forward to seeing inside linebacker Randolph Kapai from South Dakota, if I'm remembering correctly, one of the Dakotas. I mean, he was a highly rated recruit, top 250 in the nation, and we haven't seen much from him. I think last year he was injured with a shoulder injury. Right. And so he's just kind of been in the background waiting for his moment to shine. But I don't know. I just have this, maybe it's just intuition. I don't really have any substantial evidence based off of pressers or any really articles or anything, but just with that level of talent and that level of athleticism that he had in high school, with him getting coached up by our inside linebacker coach, like I think I'm very curious to see what he can do. I think he could be a gem, like an absolute gem. He just needs to get some wind under his feet and get moving. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Randolph can do.
Yeah, and then that other guy that kind of came to mind in that particular position group was Ediva Malga Clements, because I remember watching him in the Buffalo game, flying all over the field. So I'll be interested to see if he makes kind of a big move this spring and this fall to get some PT, because with Reimer out, it's going to be not Klaravix, I think, for the most part, playing in that JoJo Doman spot. So you've got Hickman. You're probably going to have Hausman or Kapai that's starting next to him on that first team. So that ought to be interesting to see. And then Ediva Malga Clements, he's probably going to play on the other side. So it ought to be fun to watch those guys fly around the field. I hope it should be fun. Anyway, those are our players that we want to watch on April 9th. Let's talk about some players that we think will make an impact in the spring game. Why don't you go first with your guy on offense?
Yeah, so who I'm looking forward to seeing this year, as I'm sure everybody is, just based on Mickey Joseph's high praise of him, it would be Alante Brown, the private school. Is it private school?
Yeah, he went to a
preparatory
college
school.
preparatory academy. So he kind of came in almost like a sophomore in college age. So yeah.
Yeah, and he was like the number 1 prep school guy coming out of school. I don't know what it would be, if it's high school or college. I should probably look into that. I don't know. Nevertheless, dude's just getting lots of praise. He seems to be a guy that is getting lots of mention, along with like Brody Belt and Omar Manning. They just seem to be getting a lot of praise. But I think out of Omar Manning, Alante Brown, and Brody Belt, I think that Alante has probably the most balanced set of skills that he can provide for our offense. He's just a well-rounded, jack of all trades. He can go on the outside, he can go on the inside. He can, do some wheel routes and some shoot, what's the word I'm looking for? Some jet sweeps. There we go. Jet sweep. That was what I was thinking of. He's just a well-rounded dude, and he's got some good hands. And he was man, I should have done some research on this. Wasn't he a quarterback in high school? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think he played some quarterback, and then he played some wide receiver. I know Cam Taylor-Britt came out of high school as he was a quarterback, was recruited to be a cornerback. So I think Alante played some quarterback in high school. Yeah, I think you're correct. I'm looking forward to him for sure. Do you have anything else on him you want to talk about?
Just honestly, this is his pure athleticism, really. Like that's pretty much the summary of what I wanted to talk about. That I'm really excited to see what he can do, and I don't know how much of a quote unquote big splash he could make in a spring game, other than just a few explosive plays. That I think the double-edged sword of a spring game is like, you want to see explosive, awesome plays, but it's like, okay, was that awesome for our offense or terrible for our defense? I don't know how to interpret this. So well, that's kind of where I'm at.
To your point, that's a good point, because I've heard Mark Whipple talk about that, and I've heard Eric Shenander talk about that too, that there are times that the offense has made some plays, and there's some times that the defense has kicked their tail. So I think that's a good sign that the team overall is probably going to be fairly good, because if you got one side of the ball dominating the other side of the ball, that season's going to be really, really long. At least that's my belief. As far as my guy, I ended up picking one of the two guys I wanted to include with players I was going to watch, and I think a guy, simply because of his attitude, Trey Palmer is my guy. And I remember he did a one-on-one podcast interview with Sean Callahan from the Husker Online. And one of the first things out of his mouth was, "Man, I'm so glad to be here at Nebraska, and y'all better watch out, because I'm fixing to put on a show." And I was listening to it. I'm like, that's a little arrogant. Well, and then I watched the video, and he was just smiling ear to ear. He was having a good time. And I think, hey, in the first scrimmage, he pissed off Caleb Tanner badly enough to start a fight. So Tanner came after him because he did some jawing after he scored a touchdown. So I'll be curious to see what kind of juice he brings to the game. And I think he's going to bring some. I think he's probably going to be target number one in a lot of those pass plays. And I know it's going to be vanilla. I know that. But hey, they did a lot. They threw the ball downfield a lot last year, even in that wind. So I'll be watching Trey Palmer to make a big splash, probably in the first quarter, probably get sat down somewhere middle of the second quarter. As far as defense, who's on your mind for making a big move on defense in the spring game?
I'm like probably everybody else here, but Garrett Nelson. Like, dude has just got some wheels. He's got a tenacity to him. And I don't think that the spring game is going to be a deterrent for his intensity. Like, I think he's going to be absolutely hyped up. He's going to be running around everywhere. Like, that's what I expect to see from him more than anything. If there's anybody on the roster that I could look at and be like, I have the highest expectation for this one player over anybody else, it's Garrett Nelson. He's already made big splashes, but I don't think we've seen his ceiling yet. And I think that what we could see here in the spring game is just a dude that just wants to go out and kill things, and play lights out. And it'll be a nice little caviar to what's to come here in 2022. I'm just absolutely stoked to see the dude.
Yep, he's one I really thought about putting down too. And especially when you consider there might be a little bit more competition coming into that position, because the O'Shawn Mathis from TCU is visiting for the spring game.
Oh, yeah.
Top
number
pass
one
rusher in the transfer portal right now, and it's kind of between us and Texas at this point, because his old coach Gary Patterson's now at Texas. I don't know if he's a defensive coordinator or a defensive coach or a analyst. I have no idea what he's at Texas for. But a lot of people think he's leaning that way, but I don't know, man. Casey Thompson said it on Bussin' with the Boys, the NIL opportunities at Nebraska. Mathis could come here, and if he's starting, he's could very easily make six figures. So I think that's going to play a big part. So for me, I'm looking at Nash Hutmacher finally putting that incredible strength of his on display and moving some dudes. So I think he will move a few dudes, make a few plays in the backfield. Yeah, that's the guy I'm really looking to see make a big splash. I mean, hey, he's been here, 2 years? And he's played a few snaps. And now's his go time. You know, for a lot of these guys that we're talking about so far, a lot of them, it's go time. It's go time for Kapai. You know, it's go time for Lante Brown, a guy that's not caught a lot of balls here, but it's time. So I think we've picked some good ones, and I think it's time to take a look at a brand new plus minus game, which I will post this, folks, out on our Facebook account, our Facebook page, and our Twitter feed. So if you aren't following us on either of those, go to @GenRedPod on both Facebook and Twitter, and you can participate in the plus minus game. Last year, Nebraska scored a total of 41 points in the spring game. 21-20 was the final score. As we recall, Heinrich Harburg threw that game-winning touchdown pass into the end zone. So I have a plus minus of 42 total points set for the 2022 spring game. I'm going to take the plus, and I'm going to say we're going to score 7 points more than 42. What say you, my son?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's going to be a plus. I'm more inclined to think that our offense is going to be a little bit more lucrative and explosive. I know we've said that since the inception of Frost's hire.
Yeah, we did.
So, you know, I just sound like a broken record, or I'm just the definition of insanity here. But I don't know. I just have this hunch that there's going to be a little bit more explosiveness. I don't know how much, but I think they're going to play a little bit more crazy. They're going to play lights out a little bit. Like, I don't know. I feel like with this offensive coaching staff, I have this hunch that our players are going to play a lot harder than we've seen before, just based on
Very well could be
personality types and leadership ability from the likes of Brian Applewhite and Mark Whipple and Mickey Joseph. Like, those three guys alone changed the entire dynamic of just the cornerstone of our offensive performance. You know, it's kind of like monkey see, monkey do. You know, if you have coaches that come in with a chip on their shoulder and they are well-rounded and expect absolute 100% of your effort at any given moment, you know, it's like you put up or shut up. And I just think that our offense is going to score a lot more. I know that was a lot to say just for me to say that I'm thinking +3. Something
not
around
exactly a lot, but you never know.
And the reason why I'm picking +3 is because as much as everything I just said would make you think, okay, our offense is just going to go blah and just shit all over the place with like amazing, cool things. I'm going to hold my reservation and say I'm not going to believe it until I see it, but I'm going to give them at least a little bit of a benefit of the doubt and say that they will score around a total of 45 points.
Okay, so you went with +3. I think that's fairly safe too. I'm kind of right there with you. So here's how the plus minus game is going to work for y'all. It's simple. If you pick the plus and it is over the number that we set in each of the games that we play, you get a point. If you pick the minus and you don't win, or it isn't the minus, then you get 0 points. You don't lose points. The only thing you can do is gain points. But if you pick the number that is set, you get 2 points if the number hits. So that's how the plus minus game is going to work. And so again, facebook.com, twitter.com /@GenRedPod to play along with us. And the winner, second place finisher, will get to do what our second place finisher this last year will do next weekend, which is join us for our spring game review. And then the winner will get to join us for our season preview episode right before the first game. And I am working on right now designing some t-shirts. So the winner will actually get a t-shirt out of the deal. So that pretty much wraps up. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're good. I was just going to say there's something that our OG original gangster followers might have noticed, is that when me and my dad played the plus minus game just now, previously last year we had a plus minus game where between me and my father only, this is just between me and my dad. For those of you who participate, you just have to pick plus, minus, or pick the number. For us, we figured out that last year we had a little bit of a struggle with picking plus or minus, because essentially whoever got first pick generally had a way higher likelihood usually won.
Yeah.
And so we want to be able to split the difference. And so between me and my father, we both can pick minus now. We both can pick plus now. We just have to pick a split the difference number. That's why he said +7. That's why I said +3. So depending on who's closer to whose number gets the point. So just between me and my dad, that's how we're running things right now. So just for some clarity, that's just between he and I, and everybody else, you can just pick plus or minus and all is well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is so cool. It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to the game next Saturday, but I'm also looking forward to what we're going to do with the show over this next year. And we're going to talk with you guys about a little bit of that here in just a couple seconds.